Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It's Friday. The weekend is very nearly here. I hope you're having a good one wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you for joining me. As always, it is press conference day today. I'm going to be heading off to London Colney very, very soon. Actually, pretty much as soon as I finish recording this, I'm going to be jumping on the motorway to get up there to speak to Mikel Arteta ahead of Sunday's big game against Newcastle in the Premier League. Arsenal with a chance to finally seal second spot in the Premier League on Sunday. Fingers crossed they can do that, but they're going to have to beat a team that has beaten them 3 times already this season. Arsenal trying to avoid 4 straight defeats in a single season against Newcastle. I haven't actually checked, but I can't remember the last time Arsenal lost 4 times to the same team in the same season. I'm sure that's a stat that will probably start doing the rounds at some point. Someone's going to find out, or Albino maybe. But yeah, can't be many times, if any, that has happened. So that's what Arsenal are trying to avoid. Today, Arteta's press conference happening at 1 p.m. UK time. For all my patrons, viewers here, and if you haven't signed up yet, become an Inside Arsenal member on Patreon, you can. The link is down below. Actually, first, before I move on from that, if you are going to sign up and become a Patreon member, it was sort of discovered yesterday. I was chatting to a few of my members on Patreon board, and it was discovered if you go in and log in and sort of purchase it through Apple, through the iOS store, you pay an extra £3 that Apple take for themselves. So instead of £6, which is what I've set the price at, you end up paying £9. So I urge everyone, if you're going to sign up to Patreon, that do it directly through Patreon. Don't do it through your iPhone. Don't do it through iOS. Just go to patreon.com and do it through there, because it's £6 rather than £9, which I can't believe that's actually the case. So Apple just take £3 for themselves as some sort of charge if you're doing it through iOS. So definitely do it through patreon.com. Use Safari, use Google, whatever. Go to patreon.com and sign up through there. So yes, to my patrons, I'm going to try and do my first live patron only show probably from the car park at London Colney today after the press conference. Once I get home, I'm trying to do something on here as well, but I'm going to try and do my first live show for patrons only. So if you want to get involved in that and you're not a Patreon member yet, then sign up today and before sort of 2 o'clock. And you'll be able to hopefully catch me doing a live show from the training ground, giving immediate updates from what Mikel Arteta has had to say. Right, let's get stuck into today. We've got a bit and pieces to talk about. I'm going to have a bit of a rant about Myles Lewis-Skelly, so get prepared for that. We're going to look at lots of questions and comments from you guys as well. And we're going to start with Benjamin Sesko. And this is an interesting one. Obviously, there's lots to talk about Arsenal strikers. We do it every single day. And most of the focus recently has been on Victor Gyökeres because of Andrea Berta coming in, and it's the sort of pendulum seems to have swung slightly towards Victor Gyökeres. The interesting thing about Benjamin Sesko, and what I wonder if the Arsenal do end up signing Gyökeres, it might be because of this. But Benjamin Sesko, we all know about the sort of release clause he's had. He signed his new contract, had the release clause. We'd always kind of assumed it would be about sort of Arsenal would end up signing, if they did sign him, end up signing for about sort of 60 million, something like that. But the release clause has gone up and up and up this season because Sesko's had a very good season despite Leipzig being pretty rubbish. Sesko's had a good season. He's played a load of minutes. He scored over 20 goals this season. And he's hit a lot of the sort of targets that have put that release clause up. And it stands now, I think it stands about £70 million, £75 million, I think it is, for Sesko. Now, that release clause, which is obviously pretty high, I think quite significantly higher than what Arsenal would end up probably playing for Victor Gyökeres if they do go down the Gyökeres route. And I do wonder if that might play into thinking a little bit, because we do know this is a big summer. Arsenal got plenty of other things to do. And if you can save, say, 15 million on the striker, and I think it's a very tight contest in terms of who would be better value for money because of obviously Sesko's age. But if you do save sort of an extra £15 million on that striker, could that go towards the left winger? Could that get you over the line potentially for the left winger that you really want? Or, a defender that you really want, something like that. So it's an interesting one. I mean, he's had a very good season, Sesko. As I've said on this so many times, that basically whoever I've seen more recently, whoever's sort of video compilation I've seen more recently, or whoever's goal I've seen more recently, I'm like, yeah, we should sign him. So if Sesko does something good, I'm on him. Then Gyökeres does something good, I'm like, actually, no, we should sign him. So I don't really care who it is. I just want to get it done early in the window. Go out there, get your striker on board, done and dusted, and then work out what else you've got to do in the transfer window, whether it be Sesko, whether it be Gyökeres, or anyone else. But yeah, I think when you look at Sesko and you sort of compare the two, I think Sesko and I think look, this seems to be an opinion that people share, that you kind of look at it and think, well, Sesko may have the higher ceiling. He's younger. He's got a lot about his game. He's still very, very raw. And I think if Arsenal do end up going down the Gyökeres route, I think it's because they probably think Sesko's just a little bit too raw for what they need right now, because this team needs a finisher. It needs a killer. It needs someone who's going to come in and going to take the level from where we are now, just raise it. And if you sign in Sesko, it feels a little bit more like a project signing than Gyökeres does. Gyökeres, obviously, you've got the pressure that you've got to come in and perform and hit the ground running straight away. Sesko, I think, would get a little bit more leeway. But it does feel like a little bit more of a sort of project signing. But if it goes well and he gets it right and he continues to develop at the rate he's developing at, then sort of 2 years down the line, you could be looking at an absolute sort of superstar on your hands then, and 75 million would look well spent. So it's a tough balancing act. It's what the club are going to have to get right. It's what Andrea Berta's come in for. He's going to have to get it right. He's going to have strong, big conversations with Mikel Arteta. The pair of them are going to have to decide exactly who it is they want, go for it, and just try and get it done. But 75 million, let me know your thoughts on it. Is that sort of price tag you would be happy to pay for a player like Sesko of his age and his relative inexperience, certainly at the top level? Or do you think maybe if you got the choice of 75 million Sesko, 60 million Gyökeres, you'd fall down towards the sort of Gyökeres side of things? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, I said I was going to have a little bit of a rant about Myles Lewis-Skelly now. Now, this is on the back of yesterday's Premier League Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season nominations. I'll just go through it right now. Obviously, Declan Rice is in the running for the Premier League Player of the Season, which I think is relatively pointless because we all know who's going to win that, and deservedly win that is Mohamed Salah. It's the Young Player of the Season that I have an issue with now. There is no Myles Lewis-Skelly in the running for Young Player of the Season. Now, I'm not saying Myles Lewis-Skelly should win this competition or win this award, but I think for him not to be in this is genuinely quite remarkable, especially when William Saliba's in it. If you ask me, and I'm not even going to focus on the other ones because I'll get accused of Arsenal bias. So I'm just going to focus purely on the fact that Saliba's in it and Myles Lewis-Skelly's not. Look, I know Saliba has played loads more minutes than Myles Lewis-Skelly. I get that. But when I'm thinking of what a Young Player of the Season award should be about, it should be about a young player, not a 23-year-old. And I know 23-year-olds young, but you know what I mean. So a teenager, a guy who's barely played before, who has suddenly forced his way into one of the best teams in the world as an 18-year-old, has made that position his own, become his first choice left back for his club, a Champions League club. Not just that, but pretty much become his first choice left back for his country, scored on his debut for his country, helped his club to second in the league. So it's not like they had a dreadful season. Got to the Champions League semi-final, and I know this is a Premier League award, but got to a Champions League semi-final and been brilliant in that run to a Champions League semi-final. If that's not what the sort of Young Player of the Season award should be for, or category should be for, then I have no idea what is. How is William Saliba in there? He's not even had that great a season by his own admission. Surely Myles Lewis-Skelly should be in there. I just think it absolutely sums up what is wrong with this category. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like those players have been around for a long, long time now, most of them. I've no issue with people like Liam Delap being in it, Dean Howson being in it. They've had a real breakthrough season. Alanga has had a fantastic season. Even Gravenberch. But Gravenberch is international. He's 22 now. Those sort of players, it just feels like this is an award, a category that Myles Lewis-Skelly should be absolutely in. He's not going to care. So I'm kind of ranting about nothing really. But I just get really frustrated by it. I just don't quite understand why he's not in that. And I've had loads of I put it on X, and as usual, there's been a big pile on rival fans coming in going, oh, he's overrated, blah, 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 yellow cards, red cards, penalties, just crap, basically. But he absolutely deserves recognition for the season he's had. It's been genuinely remarkable. Coming into the team as an 18-year-old, no one expected you to even play this season. And by the end of the season, your first choice for Arsenal, your first choice for your country. You've got to the Champions League semi-final. Your team's finished second in the league. You scored on your debut for your country. You don't get a better debut breakout season for that. And to not even be up for the award, I'm not saying she'd win it, but to not even be up for the award, that's a load of rubbish. In my view, there you go, rant done. Over and done with. Okay, there's a couple of games tonight. Arsenal could actually, and this is why I brought this up, Arsenal could actually technically qualify for the Champions League tonight. They're not going to, because for that to happen, either Chelsea or Aston Villa need to drop points in the games that they've got tonight, which have been moved to Friday to help United and Spurs, who are in the Europa League final next week, which is rubbish, really. I've never seen that done before. Why has it happened this time? No, to be fair, I say it's rubbish. I just think it's weird how it's happened this. I think it's probably the right call by the Premier League, to be fair. I'd like them to do that for Arsenal in the future. If Arsenal ever ask for an extra day's preparation time in terms of a European game, it's interesting they seem to have done it now. But yeah, so if Chelsea or Chelsea or Villa drop points tonight, then that guarantees Arsenal a top 5 finish, because the highest, if one of them drops points, that means the highest they can reach is 67. Arsenal already on 68, so they can't catch Arsenal. Both will win, obviously, because they're playing two absolutely terrible teams in Spurs and Manchester United, both of which they're playing the games at home. Spurs, Postecoglou's already admitted he's going to rest absolutely everyone pretty much because he can't afford any more injuries, which is fine. I don't have any issue with that. And I imagine Manchester United will probably do similar, although Ruben Amorim has talked up the fact that some of these players need to be playing to try and get themselves a chance of making it into the starting 11 for next week. So technically there is a chance that before Arsenal even kick a ball this weekend that they have qualified for the Champions League, but I have very little faith in the fact that will happen, because I think Aston Villa and Chelsea will cruise to absolutely not even relatively, just absolutely easy wins today. Right, moving on to some of your questions and comments now before I get in my car and head up to London Colney. Majnoon has got in touch on the Discord, which again is for my patron members. If you do sign up to Matreon and you get involved in the Inside Arsenal chat room that we've got going on there, it's good to see a lot more people sort of entering in that and the conversation beginning to flow in it. And you've got your opportunities to send in your questions for Inside Arsenal, as Majnoon has done here. He says, following up on the Berta conversation, have you seen the previous story reported by Football London about Berta squashing the transfers of Rabiot and Kamara? For Rabiot, it was due to his mother being his agent. Kamara, apparently, it was due to his lack of decorum by being in shorts and sandals when Berta visited his home. Do you put any stock into these stories, or do you think it's just rumours? Both those issues seem silly sticking points to me, but I wonder if Arteta and Berta will butt heads in the future over this if Berta is not impressed by how certain players present themselves off the pitch. Well, to be honest, no, not really, because Mikel Arteta will be equally unimpressed by how players present themselves off the pitch if he doesn't feel that they show the right sort of attitude or something like that, because that's just kind of what Arteta does. He's very into not just the quality of the player, but how they handle themselves off the pitch and what he thinks they'll bring to the dressing room and things like that. So I don't think that's necessarily just a Berta thing. I think that happens a lot in football. Arsene Wenger was the same, to be honest. Arsene Wenger put a lot into what sort of character he was, the player he was looking to sign was. And if he didn't like that character, if he didn't hear good reports from people that he asked, then he wouldn't sign him. So I don't think that'll be an issue. I honestly, I don't think we need to be looking at issues why Berta and Arteta should potentially butt heads. He's just arrived, Berta. I think let's just let them build their relationship and get on with things, because I think if it works, it could be a really exciting partnership. So I don't really feel like we need to be exploring ways in which we think that relationship could break down. I think we need to just look at it in a positive way and think this relationship could be really, really good. It could be what Arteta needs to get the deals over the line that he really wants. That didn't happen in the last couple of windows. It certainly didn't happen in January, when we all know he wanted to sign players and the club didn't go out and get it. So I think we need to focus on the positive side of things right now, rather than kind of worrying about if that relationship might break down at that point. Steve here has also got in touch on the Discord. Thank you very much. Says, Charles, with the big summer fast approaching, I was wondering what your thoughts were on the squad building for next season in terms of being able to compete in all 4 competitions and win a potential quadruple. Wow, you're thinking big there, Steve. Do we need a bigger squad and have more rotation, or do we just need more luck with squad availability and maintaining consistency in all forms across the campaign? We know Arteta likes to use his strongest 11 in the vast majority of games, but this has ultimately resulted in us falling short this season with all the injuries and lack of quality on the bench to change games. How do we get this right in terms of what is deemed to be a defining season for this project? I don't really look at this as a project anymore. I think that stage is gone, I have to say. The whole phases and projects and all thing. I think we're at the end game now. Obviously, the cherry on top of it all is trophies and winning things. But I think we've got to the point now where it's kind of done. The building and the phases and the project, that's kind of in the rearview mirror for me now. We're here. We're at the end of it. We're just at the bit where, they need to finish the whole thing off with some trophies, just to shine it up all nice, if you see what I mean. In terms of, I think we need a kind of mixture of all this. Arteta, we do need a bigger squad. And I think that will help with rotation. But I think Arteta needs to really learn to be able to trust his squad as well. It's something that we've not really got from Arteta yet, have we? It doesn't really kind of. There's players there who could have helped this season that he still didn't use. Zinchenko was underused this season for quality of player that he is. Could have easily got more minutes this season and shared the burden with some other players. We saw it with Smith Rowe the season before, whereas even if he was on his way out, he still had the opportunity to play more that season and share the burden and stuff. So I think Arteta needs to absolutely improve on that. And again, I sort of look at Andrea Berta as being important to this, not in terms of convincing Arteta of what he has to do, but just making sure he gets the players in that he knows and is confident that Arteta will use and will be confident in using. So again, I think it's a bit of a partnership thing when it comes to that. But potential quadruple, I think you're pushing it a little bit there, Stevie. I'll take 1 trophy next season. Thank you very much. Obviously 2, 3 or 4 would be nice, but I think I'll be quite happy with 1 next season. Andres has got in touch, and there's quite a few now talking about Joao Pedro, who we discussed yesterday. Sam Dean's report that Arsenal are one of 3 clubs, at least 3 clubs interested in him alongside Liverpool and Chelsea. Andres says Joao Pedro is top, but I don't know if he's the right type of profile for us. We need a centre forward. Gyökeres is also more of a left wing or wide forward than a centre forward for that. And because Arteta always has his way, think how long we were linked with Raya until we got him. I think we'll end up with Sesko. I'm more worried about our midfield. We desperately need another creative option to help relieve Odegaard. I think either Eze or Xavi Simons would be great and can play out wide if needed and could provide that creative spark. After we sign a striker, what position do you feel needs the most cover, left winger or creative midfielder? I struggle to see Arsenal signing a striker, a left winger and a creative midfielder this summer, which is why I've kind of gone down the Eze route, like you mentioned there, or even a Xavi Simons, someone like that, who could play on the left wing but can also play centrally. So that's why, rather than the out-and-out winger, I think I prefer Ede. I'll be happy with an out-and-out winger. But I think an Eze type player solves a couple of problems, a couple of positions. Same with Xavi Simons, as you pointed out there. And I agree with you on Joao Pedro. A lot of people were sort of replying to my video saying, why are you wanting Joao Pedro, when clearly they didn't watch it, because I said that I didn't really want him. It wouldn't be one that really excited me. I thought he was a good player, but it didn't feel like the sort of thing that I'd want Arsenal to do this summer, especially if he was the only forward signing. So I agree with you. I think he's a good player, but I'm not sure he's the right type of profile at the moment for us. Non-Flying Iceman says, don't like Pedro's attitude, not as good as Cunha. He will get so many reds for Arsenal. We are ref differently, plus Brighton premium, probably look at 80 million plus. Nope, I'd rather get someone more creative, ball carrier, Eze, Simons, if not Rodrigo. I think Juan Garcia won't happen due to the success he's had this season. I think he will no longer be happy to sit on the bench. We'll be looking at clubs who are offering him a starting position. Aston Villa, apparently, or Newcastle, especially Newcastle, I've seen recently in the last 24 hours or so, reports linking them with Juan Garcia. We'll see where he ends up this summer. And then you said, I think the yellow goalkeeper kit, this is David Raya's new kit for next season. And I said it reminded me of an old Liverpool kit. And you're right here. You point out it was the candy sponsor at Liverpool after the Crown Paints era. See, I think it might be the Crown Paints one that I'm thinking of. The one that Dalglish was in. Might have been Dalglish's last season as player manager when he wore it. I can't remember. But it was that yellow one that had really thin red stripes on it. Maybe it was that was reminding me of it. Matt says, I think Joao Pedro would make sense as a replacement if Trossard left, but agree with you about the likely cost, Charles. And are we going to sign 3 forwards? Happy to be wrong, but I can't see it. Yes, I agree with you there. I'd see this most likely as due diligence, so that we had scoped the list and definitely bring someone in if for whatever reason we don't get our top targets. If so, I think that's good. It's exactly what we should have done and failed to do last summer. I like the player quite a bit. Not sure he's quite our level now as a number 1 striker, but he could improve. Yeah, he's definitely not. That's why I was saying yesterday, if he came in as our number 1 striker, then that would be massively underwhelming. No way. The only way I'd be kind of okay with a signing like that is if he came in at, you'd signed your big striker, you'd signed your Sesko, your Gyökeres, signed your left winger, and then you went because he had some money left and you got Joao Pedro. But that's the only way I'd be happy with it. Certainly not as the main striker. And finally, there's one here from Mid Kemmer. Are you hearing much on Jonathan David to Arsenal? He does seem a talented player who's done better with each season, but he wouldn't be a big name that the fans are looking for. Would Arsenal go for 2 strikers? If we did, then what would happen to Kai? Also, when thinking about Kai, do you think Zubimendi could offer the balance for Kai to drop into centre midfield, maybe as a Odegaard competitor rotation option? I think he will be an Odegaard competitor rotation option next season. I think whoever comes in as a striker, Havertz is still going to play a lot of games next season, and it won't always be as a striker. I think he'll definitely be seen as an option for one of those two midfield roles behind him. On Jonathan David, I've just not heard anything. I have to say, I know that Arsenal were interested in once. They were talking to his people, sort of getting their feeling on him once, but that was way back. That was when Raul Sanyehi was still here. I haven't heard anything fresh on Arsenal and Jonathan David since that. And so that was about 4 years ago now, just almost when he just started out at Lille. And I haven't heard anything. That's not saying, maybe they have looked at it. It's free transfer, excellent player, brilliant goal scoring record. Maybe it is something they're looking at, but it's just not something I've heard, and I haven't seen it reported anywhere elsewhere either. So there was interest in him in the past. That interest wasn't followed up, and I haven't heard that they've still got interest in him. But I don't know why that would be. And that's it from me today. Anyway, that's it from me this morning. I'm going to hopefully do some stuff a little bit later on Patreon for my members live after the press conference, and hopefully on here as well a little bit later on if I get time when I get back. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Have a good Friday. Bye-bye.